Assalamu alaikum. Today we are going to start Mending Wall by Robert Frost. The poem has been written by an American poet, Robert Frost, which was featured in his second major volume of poems. The poem does not possess any particular incident. Theme. There is no uniform and particular theme in the poem as it holds two major themes. The first one is the wall, serving as the boundary between two neighbors, but the wall slowly fell a victim to weathering. But the wall is essential to keep a sound connection between the neighbors, as good fences make good neighbors. If the boundary for some reason vanishes, it is sure to violate the privacy of one's neighbors and one's own as well. The second theme of the poem is to rebuild the wall, which is damaged during the force through the force of nature or through a rabbit who digs in the spring season. The second theme is more prominent than the previous one as the title, and the whole poem revolves around repairing of the wall. As a wall plays a key role in establishing a good and neat relation between the neighbor. Setting. The poem takes place in a farm on which a wall is established to keep the farmer's farm safe and protected. But there are mysterious forces of nature which play a key role in damaging the wall. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that sends the frozen ground swell under it, and spills the upper boulders in the sun, and makes gaps even two can pass abreast. Rabbits playing in the spring season are also responsible for the holes in the farmer's wall. The narrator of the poem has to repair the gaps and holes which are not seen or heard them made. His neighbor also takes part in the outdoor game of mending the wall. The images used in this poem are quite simple and widely used in normal day-to-day conversations. The images belong to farms, walls, rabbit, yelping dogs, and hills, etc. are some notable images of this poem to describe the scenery of the farm. This poem contains many literary devices and symbolism. The sun in line 3 symbolizes the summer season, and the frozen ground swell in line number 2 resembles the winter season. The wall has been implemented as a metaphor in the very composition, be it the wall of language, emotion, or actions. We do not want our neighbors in college, university, at home, or in every professional field to create holes in our wall of hypocrisy. If for some reason our wall suddenly starts to decay, we labor ourselves to build a wall. In this poem, the poet uses characters who advocate their viewpoints. One is the poet himself, but the other is his neighbor and nature. The poet is of the view that there should be no wall. His neighbor asserts that wall is necessary for maintaining good relations. He says good fences make good neighbors. In these lines, the poet says that there is something that abhors walls or boundaries between the neighbors. This something causes the earth below the fence to swell due to freezing and heating by the sun. This swelling tumbles the bigger stones of the fence, especially the upper ones. As a result, the fence is broken at several places. The gaps thus made in the wall are at times broad enough to let two men walk through them shoulder to shoulder. This 45-line poem consists of one verse paragraph. It does not have stanzas, it is one whole block of text like a wall of words. The use of I makes it more like a monologue. It combines elements of dramatic and reflective lyric. The work of hunters is another theme. I have come after them and made repair, where they have left not one stone on a stone, but they would have the rabbit out of hiding. To please the yelping dogs, the gaps in me. But no one has seen them made or heard them made. But at spring mending time we find them. In these lines, the speaker contrasts the natural yet almost secret destruction of the wall by the ground swelling with the intentional destruction created by the hunters. The speaker recognizes and understands their motive. He reinforces the idea that these breaks created by nature are more mysterious than those made by the hunters. This action cannot be observed, though the effects are consistent year after year. I let my neighbor know beyond the hill, and on a day we meet to walk the line and set the veil between us once again. We keep the wall between us as we go to each the boulders that have fallen to each, and some are rocks and some so nearly balls. We have to use a stride to make them balance. Stay where you are until our backs are turned. On a day in spring, the speaker spoke to his neighbor living beyond the hill about the damage to the wall. They fixed a day, met, and walked along the line of demarcation from one end to the other. They agreed to let the wall stand between them as before. The stone pieces now belonged to whomsoever side they had fallen. Some of them were flat like a loaf, while the others were roundish. After arranging the stones properly, they asked the stones to stay in their places at last, so long as they do not turn their backs on them. We wear our fingers rough with handling them, or just another kind of outdoor game. One on a side, it comes a little more. There where it is, we do not need the wall. He is all pine and I am apple orchard. My apple trees will never get across and eat the cones under his pines, I tell him. He only says good fences make good neighbors. The speaker does this with a joke that is founded on a practical observation. Farmers often use fences to keep their livestock separated. This fence should be unnecessary. Pine trees and apple trees will not become confused with each other, nor will one eat the fruit or seeds of the other. In the line, good fences make good neighbors. The neighbor presents himself directly rather than through the eyes of the speaker. He never states that he believes constitutes a good neighbor. He implies that some clear separation is essential. Spring is a mystery in me, and I wonder if I could put a notion in his head. Why do they make good neighbors, isn't it? Where there are cows, but here there are no cows. Before I built a wall, I'd ask to know when what I was walling in or walling out, and to whom I was like to give offense. In this line, the poet said that spring is such a season as induces a mood of naughtiness. It was therefore that the narrator felt an itch to ask the neighbor to justify his saying that good fences make good neighbors. If, of course, fencing is justified where there are cows, so to restrict them from straying into fields. But there are no cows in the place, therefore, it is a pertinent question to ask whom do we wish to either keep in or keep out of the enclosure before building a wall. The speaker also begins to speculate, and the symbolic significance of the wall becomes apparent as he uses the phrase walling in and walling out. The double function of a wall is addressed, for not only are outsiders prevented from entry, but insiders are trapped inside. The speaker considers the possibility that walls give offense as he himself seems to be slightly offended, but he never reaches a conclusion about what it is within himself that is either walled in or walled out.